Thomas and Kilman, two behavioral scientists, they did a lot of work in the area of conflict resolution and came up with what is called the Thomas Kilman conflict modes. And what they basically did was that Thomas and Kilman discovered that when a person is in a conflict situation, their behavior can be described in terms of two basic modes, in terms of two dimensions. And these dimensions are assertiveness and cooperativeness. By assertiveness, Thomas and Kilman meant that that people behave in a very me-centered fashion, in a very self-centered fashion. They pursue their own concerns, their own interests, without caring for the interests of others. They pursue their own interests to the detriment of others. But cooperativeness is the opposite. The person ignores their own concerns and focuses on others. Cooperativeness is other-centered. The person does not focus on their own concerns, but they rather focus on the concerns of others. That looking at these two dimensions, Thomas and Kilman saw that you could explain all the behaviors that people have when they're in a conflict situation. And we're going to look at 5 different ways that people respond to conflict that we see in the Thomas Kilman conflict resolution modes. I'm going to try to write here. Let's see. Okay, good. Here we see competing. So there are 5 different responses, that different ways that people could behave in a conflict situation. And to Kilman and Thomas, a conflict situation is a situation where people have concerns that are seen to be incompatible. Now, so we see that there's competing. In this situation, the person is focused on a win-loss scenario. It's a win-loss scenario. Hold on, my pen is not writing for some reason. Okay, we'll go without it. It's supposed to write. So with competing, we see that the person is focused on a win-lose. They want to win, and the other person lose. They want to grab it all. They don't care for the concerns of others. It's a win-lose power struggle. The person is highly assertive, and you look on the right, on the left here, you see assertiveness. So it starts from 0 here and goes up on the y-axis, and on the x-axis here is cooperativeness. And basically, let me sort of go to and explain assertiveness and cooperativeness first. So we see that here on the y-axis, assertive, it shows that the degree of assertiveness rising from 0 up. And to be assertive means a person focuses on his needs, his wants, his agenda. It's he wins, the other person loses. It's very competitive. And here, cooperativeness, the person focuses on the needs of others and to the relationship. It is other-centered. Cooperativeness seeks more to, actually not cooperativeness, when you see here expressed as collaboration, when you see up here collaboration, will be a win-win. But cooperativeness here, a person gives in, a person sacrifices. So as you go up, a person gives in. So on the x-axis is basically the other person wins. You give in. Okay, as the more you go, is the other person wins, and you just leave. But then up here we'll see collaboration. Collaboration is a win-win. It's both assertive and cooperative. It's completely opposite to avoiding here. It's completely opposite to avoiding. The person that is collaborative digs deep into one issue to pinpoint the underlying expectations and desires of the two individuals. Then he's gonna work to make sure that they come to a solution that satisfies each person's needs fully. The key there is fully. So collaboration often leads to a synergistic situation where the two people benefit from the resolution in a way that they couldn't on their own. Compromising is not to be confused with collaborating. Compromising basically is a quick solution. It leaves the relationship undamaged. It's basically people who want to get things done quickly. Their personality is just don't spend time on it and just get it solved quickly, but everybody is happy. I sometimes I give up things and you win, and sometimes you give up, I win. It's a I lose, win some, you lose, win some, basically. Accommodating here is a lose-win. It's an assertive and cooperative, complete opposite of competing up here. The person neglects their own concerns but meets the concerns of others. And then we see here competing is a win-lose again, and avoiding is lose-lose. There is unassertive and uncooperative, and the person avoids the conflict. The person leaves. Now, something I want you to note, which is very, very important in understanding these different responses. There is no response type here that is the best. There is no response type that is the best. The type of response would be dependent on the situation that you have. It's good to have all of these as tools in your toolbox. There are times when avoiding is the best option. There are times when collaborating is. There are times when compromising is. There are times when competing is. There are times when accommodating is. Okay, that none of them is the best. It is best depending on the situation. Okay, that's very important to note. Don't look for which one is the best. The problem is usually that people tend to use only because of our nature and nurture. People develop a personality that is comfortable at using only one of them. So there are some people who are avoiders. There are some people who are attackers, competitors. They just want to win in every situation. Well, that's the problem. The problem is not that competing is bad. It is that if you compete in every situation, which is what happens, we sort of have developed this different personalities, and then they all have inclinations, predispositions, and ways that they naturally respond to conflict. That's where the problem lies. But the beauty about the Thomas Kilmann conflict modes is that it helps us to be able to see that, one, there are different ways of responding to conflict. Two, that there is no best way, but that each situation determines the best method of resolving a conflict. And it also shows us that even though we may have predispositions, we may have a personality that is more comfortable, that often chooses one method of resolving conflict, that we can learn. We can learn other methods so that we can be able to balance our predisposition, our inclinations, with other methods that will actually help us to be very successful in relationships, in resolving conflict when it happens within relationships. That's very important. Okay, all 5 responses are good to have in your toolbox. I think we talked about that. The problem is if it's the only tool in your toolbox. We also talked about that. The 5 different, these represent 5 different personalities that we have. We talked about that too. there are different representation of fight, flight, and cooperate. They and we can see that all these five you can reduce them into three: the fight, competition, the flight, avoidance, and then the cooperate, as we talked about, will give you compromise. It will give you the accommodation and the collaboration.